Christ of the Hills United Methodist Church.
Senior pastor at Christ of the Hills United Methodist Church in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Last week my video devotional was made from this spot. I called it Blessings from the Doorway, the empty sanctuary behind me. Looking forward to the end of this health crisis when the people can again gather in this sanctuary and in sanctuaries throughout our country and throughout our world. And that will be a Sunday different from all other Sundays. Perhaps some of you have seen a video making its way around Facebook and other places of Chris Farley and his grand entrance into the David Letterman show in 1995. After David Letterman introduced Chris Farley, he comes in and walks down he doesn't walk, he runs down the middle aisle and revving up the crowd, going wild as he makes his way. There are high fives, there's chest bumps, there's cartwheels and I love you mans. And I think when we come back into this sanctuary, there's going to be that excited feeling. It will be a Sunday different from all other Sundays. And that seems especially appropriate right now as we get ready for Palm Sunday. The revved up crowds on Palm Sunday waving the palm branches and shouting to Jesus, Hosanna to the Son of David. It's called Jesus' triumphal entrance into Jerusalem's gates. And that was an energetic moment. So much so that the staid Pharisees urged Jesus, tell the crowds to be quiet. And Jesus responds, if they were quiet, there's so much energy here that the stones themselves would cry out. So Palm Sunday, Jesus' triumphal entry, is a pageantry really of jubilation. And he is but one in a long line of kings and potentates and conquerors who entered into Jerusalem's gate triumphantly. And yet his triumphal entrance was different than all the others. Now the language I'm using to guide this devotional, a Sunday different from all other Sundays, comes from one of the most endearing moments in the Passover Seder. I've enjoyed so much through the years participating in and leading Passover Seders. And that's perhaps the meal that Jesus was sharing with his disciples in the upper room the night he was betrayed and arrested. But one of the most endearing moments of the Seder is when the youngest person in the room asks what the Hebrews call the Halayla Hazeh questions. Halayla Hazeh meaning this night. Why is this night different from all other nights? And that's the question. And the question is really about the menu. On all other nights we eat unleavened bread. Why on this night only are we allowed to eat only unleavened bread? So it becomes a family time of passing along to the next generation the sacred story and the ceremony remembering how God with a mighty hand delivered the children of Israel from the hand of Pharaoh. Sacred traditions are very, very important. That's perhaps the reason you're watching this video right now, that you miss our gatherings together in this sanctuary or in other churches. These are extraordinary times that we're living in, and you miss participating with your faith community and sharing those sacred traditions. And yes, we've come up with innovative ways of sharing and recording and reaching people without actually being in person-to-person worship. But people are hungry for connections, and that's why when we finally come back to the sanctuary, it will be a Sunday, unlike any other Sunday. One thing we're learning from these extraordinary days is how much we need our rituals. Why are ritual and ceremony so important and such an essential part of our human journey? I think rituals provide a language for us. They speak for us when we don't really know exactly what to say. Victor Turner was the great University of Chicago anthropologist of the last century, and he wrote a great deal about rituals. And he wrote this: religion lives insofar as it is performed. If you wish to spay or geld religion, first remove its rituals. Let me try to expand that thought. If you wish for religion to die, merely allow it to become a compendium of thought, something for the brain. Cram in all the philosophy you wish, all the deep thinking, all the free thinking, all the nice thinking, any kind of thinking that you desire, as long as that thinking, however intellectual it is, however true it is unattached to rituals. When unattached to rituals, religion is unadorned by beauty. It's uninspired by music and the arts. It's unanimated by drama and action. Religion must engage all the senses for it to be healthy. Sound and sight and touch and taste and smell. And the Passover Seder does exactly that for the Jewish community with the Halal Hazeh questions, making clear that this night is not like any other night of our faith. Palm Sunday does that in a very real way for the Christian community. This is a Sunday different than any other Sunday. Perhaps you recall, as I do, as a child, participating in the Palm Parade, waving palms at First Methodist Church in Pine Bluff when I was growing up. One of the texts that we read at on Palm Sunday is from the Psalms. It's the 118th Psalm, and it remembers that triumphal entry. It says, "Open to me the gates of righteousness." You can hear Jesus saying that. "Open to me the gates of righteousness, that I may enter in through them. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And then the people respond, as it were, "Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Bind the festal procession with branches up to the horns of the altar." That's the 118th Psalm. And such customs, in a word, rituals, keep the story alive. On Palm Sunday, the past barges into the present, and it forces a question. Why is this triumphal entry different from all the others in a long line of triumphal entries into Jerusalem? Jerusalem's gates have been entered by conquerors throughout history. 3,000 years ago, in 1000 BC, King David used tunnels to take a Jebusite city and make it the city of David. 400 years later, in 586 BC, Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonians came into the city and conquered it, destroyed Solomon's temple, the first temple. When the second temple had been built, just after a generation after Jesus lived, the Roman general Titus came in and defeated the Jews and leveled the city, destroying the temple again. Perhaps you've been to Rome to see the Arch of Titus commemorating that Roman victory at the Roman Forum. After the Crusaders conquered the city in 1099, their short domination was ended by the Islamic general Saladin, whose siege of Jerusalem in 1187 ended that. Then there was the Ottoman Empire, when Suleiman the Magnificent conquered the city in 1517. And exactly 400 years later, in 1917, the British general Edmund Allenby entered the Jaffa Gate in triumph. And in honor of Jesus, he dismounted his horse and walked in through the gates rather than riding in as Jesus had done. And there the Ottoman Turks surrendered at the Migdal David, the Tower of David, just inside the Jaffa Gate. I was thinking last night of General Allenby's triumphant entrance. It's a remarkable thing as he dismounted and walked through the Jaffa Gate. And there are beautiful photographs of that from 1917. That was in December. My father had been born in September of that year, so he was 3 months old when that happened. And Dad passed away just yesterday, and we will lay him to rest tomorrow, a long and blessed life of 102 years. Yet, when you think about it relative to Jerusalem's history or world history, just a short, brief time. But in these 100 years alone, from generation to generation, the story has been told, from Dad to his sons, to our children, to our grandchildren. How is it told? Through rituals, through participation, through performance of ritual and custom. That's why we crave so much to come back into this sanctuary. And when we do, it will be a Sunday different than all other Sundays. In the same way Jesus' triumphant entrance was different from all other of the conquerors who entered Jerusalem. They came to enter, to find empire, to find a kingdom. Jesus came into the gates in order to find righteousness, He said, my kingdom is not of this world. So not open to me the gates of empire, Jesus said, but open to me the gates of righteousness. So I end then with Psalm 24, one of the most beautiful passages for Psalm Sunday. Lift up your heads, O ye gates. Be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty. The Lord, the mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and even be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Have a wonderful and blessed Palm Sunday. God bless you.
Christ of the Hills United Methodist Church is located at 700 Balearic Road in beautiful Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. You can call us at 501-922-4503 or visit us on the web at www.cohumc.com.